Alright, so I don't normally do videos like this. My channel's dedicated to album unboxings, but I feel obligated to give my thoughts on Rob Zombie's latest film, 3 from Hell, ostensibly the final chapter to the Firefly Family films. This is probably Rob Zombie's worst film to date. People argue that his films have declined in quality for a long time, but I'll argue as far as 31. I think even though the likes of Lords of Salem and Halloween 2 have questionable creative choices and dodgy writing, I'll say that there is a lot of interesting and entertaining aspects and things to take away from those films, which make them worthy watches. But I feel from 31 to now, we're starting to really see a stagnation in Rob Zombie's overall filmmaking across the board. I think it's largely down to the casting these days. But yeah, overall, it just that all his films now feel very bland and lacking in the enthusiasm that his previous works had. I mean, aside from the really lacklustre writing that we keep getting through his films in recent years, I think a lot of it's largely down to the casting. 31 was such a bland horror film in my eyes, bar Richard Brake, who's in this film. His performance in 31 was really interesting and held up the film, but I just feel that his films these days are lacking in the Bill Mosleys and the Sid Haigs, which I feel is a lot of the problem with this film. Obviously Sid Haig was really ill during this, so we only get one scene with him, and he looks really frail and ill. You can hear it in his voice, doesn't sound particularly healthy. It was nice to see him in this film in a sad sort of way, but as a whole the film lacks his presence sorely. I feel that Bill Moseley does an excellent job of basically holding this film up, especially with the shit dialogue that he's got to work with. I think he does a great job of sort of retaining the character and sort of really bringing all the focus onto him when he's on the screen. Richard Brake, as I said, he's in this. He's okay in it. I don't think he does quite as well of a job on this as Bill Moseley does with his screen time, but he's not given a great deal to do. I find that his whole story of being half brother, whatever he is, to the Firefly family is a bit convenient. I'd preferred if he was just like an inmate that Otis had met while he was incarcerated. So I didn't really like that side of it. But I just think the whole film is it relies too much on Devil's Rejects. It uses a lot of the beats from that film, but the execution's way more sloppy. Like I say, the writing, it's like a kid had wrote it. Every character talks with a gut mouth, and it's nothing new to his films, but we're at a point now where it's not pulling it off. It's really noticeable and distracting. Ironically, the most effort I feel has gone into Baby. I think Rob's put, or on paper, her character seemed pretty interesting. What he was trying to do with her, he was trying to make her more disassociated with the world, more so than what she's ever been before. The problem is that Sherry Moon cannot convey these emotions and the problems that her character's going through. She sounds really annoying throughout the whole thing. I mean, people sort of pan her for not being a great actress anyway. I actually do think she's an okay actress. I think she's okay in like certain Lord of Salem. She does show that she can do different characters at times. All very surface level, of course, but you know, she has shown that she's got some sort of range. But firstly, I think she doesn't know how to play Baby anymore. It doesn't seem like it's Baby. And secondly, I don't think she was able to sort of pull off the nuances that Rob's idea was on paper. Yeah, every time she's on screen, I wanted to cringe, really. It wasn't a good performance from her end. She's definitely a detriment to the film. The film does have some cute ideas. The documentary style at the start, where you see the remaining members of the Firefly family in prison. It's very reminiscent of the Charles Manson fiasco in the 60s and 70s, where they've got like a fan base now. I kind of like that idea, but I just feel the biggest problem with the film is that the characters don't have anything to do. It obviously, like I say, leans on Devil's Rejects, the beats of that film, but there's no goal. They're just kind of just hanging round from A to B. Before, spoiler, Baby does something stupid and they have to move to the next area, but there doesn't seem to be any goal, where they're going. There's no particularly, like in the other films there'll be a cop or a sheriff or someone that you kind of gravitate towards that's trying to stop these guys. There's no one really like that in this film that has any sort of presence. But the whole thing it's a very sloppy and dull film. I mean, on that I haven't really got much else to say, other than the fact that this is his worst film, without a doubt, but it's made that much worse with knowing that it's kind of tarnished the first two films. It brings nothing to the table, doesn't add anything to the story. All it does is put a big brown stain on it all. It should have ended at Devil's Rejects. Captain Spaulding, massively missed in this film. I don't think Richard Brake's character's developed enough to sort of take over the pedestal. And yeah, Bill Moseley, fantastic, always fantastic. Does a great job with what he's got, and he's definitely the guy that holds this film together. Everyone else, average to terrible, and that's this film as a whole. It's not outright unwatchable, but it is massively disappointing. And like I say, because of the history behind this whole story, it's pissed me off a little bit. So I'd basically say, if you're a Rob Zombie fan, you're a fan of his films, it's worth a watch for interest. But if you're looking to have some sort of an extension on the universe or whatever, you're going to be so disappointed. So yeah, take that with a pinch of salt. Alright guys, catch you later.